and downs and whatnot, and now sitting in this seat and having the privilege to be here in this role, really it started with the question of what does it mean to be a Hawk? And what are some elements and things that we can look at in order for us to continuously move forward in a way that's sustainable, in a way where there's an identity that's tied to who we are. And for us, like it was really about taking a few moments and asking more and more questions, and ultimately we landed with a shared vision. And that vision has informed a lot of our decision making. And some of those key elements of answering the question of what it means to be a Hawk has everything to do with alignment and communication with key stakeholders. We brought in Quinn Snyder, who's been unbelievable for us in implementing a new system and sharing the same vision, adding some things culturally that we want to do, having a strong emphasis on development, and that's not just on the court, it's really off the court as well, and who these guys are, to bring a unifying effort, to really stress the factors of team, of commitment to one another, and sacrificing where we need to sacrifice in order for us to really harp on the fact that the whole is greater than the sum. Everyone has an individual part to play, and everyone needs to do what they need to do, but we need to do that in a unifying effort towards our ultimate vision of being championship caliber. And so far, we've done a lot of really good work, leading back to basically last year with the half year that Quinn had, some new staff, some new players, a lot of the same players as well, and really bringing that alignment, not just to the coaches, but the front office and our performance staff, and how that's shaping up, everything development that we need to do there. Guys taking care of their bodies, but then also progressing them towards being the best version of themselves. And that's a common theme and a common phrase that we say a lot. So there's a lot of excitement for this season, for everything that's new, and partnering with people that love their craft. At the end of the day is really what we're about. So with that, I'll take any questions.
You mentioned reflecting on last season and everything like that. I'm curious, as you guys move forward, what is the main goal coming into this season? Where do you guys hope to end up?
So we've talked about looking at some of the foundational elements. What are we putting in place with our players? What are we surrounding them with? Who are we surrounding them with? And really the big goal right now is about positioning. And it's about stressing the fact that we are unified and we want to play unselfish basketball. And of course we have goals and goals that we're aiming at, but really it's about a day-to-day process, about creating good, sustainable habits so that when you do reach those goals, you can continue to surpass them because you're leaning on the process of your work rather than just we're doing anything we can to just achieve this specific goal. So that sort of paradigm, that mindset is really what we're harping on.
Landry, should the fan base expect more than just a playoff berth at this point?
I think the fan base should expect sort of what I just said, a group that's going to go out there and absolutely give everything they have for one another. The way in which that we are implementing from our system standpoint is really about sharing the basketball, moving the basketball, and doing it in a way that's still authentic to the individuals that are on the court. So that's what the fans should expect.
As far as you, how have you grown in this role over the last year, taking over that role, and what have you felt you been able to do in the off season to help you in this current year?
It's been quite a journey. It's been fast. I don't pretend that it hasn't been, but for me, there's a few guiding principles in my life, and one of them is that everybody's my teacher. Whether you're younger or older, no matter what background you may have, I always look to learn and do that with individuals that are also learners. And partnering with Quinn, partnering with Kyle, like they're that. And just as much as I learn from anybody, I learn from them. And there's a certain selflessness that needs to be had when you do that. When you're trying to have that alignment that we're all going for. But for me, it's been great. It's been a fun process. Really excited about it. It's going to continue to evolve. No doubt.
You mentioned a moment ago in your opening statement about this being a year, well, a whole year now, full season with Coach Snyder. What are some of your expectations after this off season and such from Coach Snyder being as though he'll be able to implement his system? And what are some of your expectations from the players being able to actually perform on the system?
Yeah, I mean, and not to be repetitive here, it is about establishing good working habits that all promote selflessness and promote daily development. Guys continuously learning about themselves and then leveraging that to become the best version of themselves through action and through putting them in different situations and in spots that we've already started to have those guys look at. So they've been in working and doing things on their own. Had a lot of guys in this offseason, which is a huge benefit. And really, there's a lot of credit to the guys for coming in and wanting to work so hard early on.
What do you expect to see from guys like Patty Rose and Wesley Matthews?
A number of things. There's some of the vets on the team. And frankly, they're still great players too. I think a lot of people look at them and automatically think, oh, you're kind of in this leadership veteran role, and no doubt they're going to do a lot of that. But for them, those guys can still play. They space the floor, and in this system, shooting comes at a premium as it typically does in all the NBA. But for what we are trying to do with Trey operating as sort of a QB, DeJounte operating as a QB, like spacing the floor is going to be crucial. So for those guys, it's absolutely about how they can space the floor, who they are on the court, but then also off the court too, just sharing a wealth of knowledge. The saying in our front office called reinvest your gold, and those guys have a lot of gold over the years. So for them, about giving that to younger guys and not withholding only elevates the group, and that is part of our development.
Yeah, hey, Landry. When you look at Onyeka Okongwu, we drafted him 6 overall a few years back. What's our plan in terms of his progression? Is he ready to start? Is he going to come off the bench? What's your vision?
For him, his development has been really good in the past few years. Something he's been working on a lot this offseason is spacing the basketball. And what we expect of him is just like, you're going to learn some things that are new, and that's not just for him, that's for everybody. Obviously, still have Clint Capella, and we have, as you mentioned, Onyeka. So, starter, not starter, I'll leave that to Quinn, but Onyeka's been great. He's been getting a lot of work in, so excited to see how he progresses here.
Last season, the biggest thing with DeJounte and Trey was the sacrifices that they've been able to make in order to make this partnership work. How do you see them taking the next step forward in order to have a more successful year than they did last season?
I think what I've loved seeing the most out of them this offseason is just how much they've been communicating with one another, and them sharing with each other, not just who they want to be in this league, but what they want to do together, and how that fits into the greater narrative of who we are. So they've had a ton of back and forth, had an opportunity to work out with one another, not just here in Atlanta, but outside of Atlanta as well. So those are all really good indicators for us, as they are our leaders on the team. And so for them, they're going to continue to evolve in their relationships. It's only going to benefit everybody.
How do you configure what you want out of the power forward position after John Collins was gone, after being sort of power forward for the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. John was a huge part of what we've done, especially on the defensive end this last season. And wish him nothing but the best. I know he's going to do great things in Utah. For him and for us, now missing him, we do have sort of a hole there, not a hole like it can't be filled, but for what he brought on the court, look at a guy like Steve Bay, Jalen Johnson, DeAndre, those guys have played in 3-4. And however it shapes up from a lineup rotation standpoint, we'll see. But really, like the progression of Jalen, especially defensively in the last season, really gave us a lot of hope this year, where it's like, okay, can you put him into the more 4 lineups, whether he's starting or not, and add in some of those elements defensively as well as his playmaking ability. I think for him, like, we're excited for his growth this year.
Landry, you mentioned Trey and DeJounte worked out a lot this summer at the State Farm preview event. Can you share how much their confidence in each other ultimately helps the front office build a contending team?
Good question. For those guys, like for who they are, and the weight that they have on this team, the more aligned that they are, the more connected they are, the better it is for everyone. We'll see how that ultimately materializes onto the court, but for those guys and for us especially, we need them in leadership roles at the rim to be local. And so far it's been fun to see. It's been a good progression for them both, and it gives us some confidence going forward.
Landry, with so much movement on these past few weeks, what are your thoughts about how this team stands against this with all the movements and things of that nature?
For us, I actually think it's great for the league. I think it's great for us. Those are factors that are not in our control. And when they happen, you have an ability to just take a step back and go, oh well, okay, the East just got tougher. It's like, yeah, it did. So what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? And we look at that, and I think it only makes us more hungry. We see this, and we're going to hear all the things, and they're going to be what they're going to be. And the communication, the messaging for our guys is you can control what you can control. So that should light up a further fire into our everyday work habits because we've got work to do.
Hi, Landry. In regards to developing those leadership roles in this team, a big part about John Collins' presence was his voice. Who do you look to kind of fill that void, or is it everybody?
It's a collective right now. John did have a tremendous voice and he did speak a lot. But I wouldn't discount any of our own guys. You start to see more and more out of Trey in this system, his ability to really grasp it and share that with guys and really lead from the QB standpoint of what he's doing on the court. DeJounte, another guy that does a lot of work behind the scenes, see things that we don't know about, and frankly, it's good that we don't know. That's the ownership and accountability that we've always wanted with players in which we've always seen really good teams. So for him to do that, as well as Trey to continue to take his progression moving forward, as Lauren spoke about earlier with Patty and with Les, those guys are all going to have a collective effort. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Somebody in the front row is like to blind.
You talked about kind of the East getting better and lots of players there. Obviously, there's always the rumblings around transactions all summer long, and you end up not kind of making the big splash move this summer. How aggressive will you be to potentially upgrade the roster, especially coming off of a playing appearance, which I know obviously is not going to be the goal position?
Yeah, I think more from a philosophical standpoint, it's something that we're always going to look at. It's my job, it's my group's job to be scouring the land and figuring out how can we continue to improve this roster. But sort of the theme, the common theme right now, especially right what we're doing, is just seeing how this whole system takes shape and the guys that we do have. And then if we need to make adjustments, we'll make adjustments. But it's something that's always in the back of our mind, something that we're always looking at. If there's opportunity, we'll try our best to do that.
Piggybacking off that, Landry, there was a lot of smoke and rumors around a particular player that we were going after, in Pascal Siakam. What is your response to those rumors?
Sort of similar to the last question, we're always going to be looking at opportunities to improve this roster. And whenever there's guys that have their names in the mix, sometimes it just is what it is, and you don't really have to address anything because that's the nature of the NBA. But then there's other times where if there's things that come up, we do a good job of communicating with players and their agents, saying, hey, this has come up right now. Could be something, could be nothing, but more than anything, we don't should be blindsided if something were to happen. Because in this day and age, how fast we learn certain things is quicker than what we do at times. So that's the approach that we take in those sorts of things.